probably shouldn't say this, but she was so nervous behind everything she does. After spending 12 years as a stay-at-home mom, she has made the incredibly brave decision to step back into the working world. I don't know about you, but after a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I'm like, I can't go back to work again. So after 12 years, that's incredibly commendable. Not by returning to something that she was familiar with either, but entering an entirely new industry, starting from the ground up and working steadily into her way into her new position, which she is immensely proud of. Outside of work, she is happiest wherever the sun is shining, whether that's on the beach, in the mountains, or out in the bush. And I've heard that she'll probably be the last person you'll ever find on a dance floor. So she's definitely not afraid of a good time. And if there's a sweet treat involved, it's always a yes. Ladies, please join me in welcoming, oh my word, if that's the line today, join me in welcoming Gaelyn.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for all being here today. It really is touching because when I was first invited to speak, I had a moment of, what if nobody shows up? I think we all tend to believe that no one's going to show up for us. And something that the Robin Hood Foundation proves is that with the right heart and the right spirit and the right motivation, there will always be someone to stand up for yourself, stand up for you, and show up for you. And something that I've learned through my life is that I didn't stand up for me and I didn't show up for me. So I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory about who I am. In 2022, I was morbidly obese. I weighed 130 kilograms. I had fatty liver disease. I was pre-diabetic. I had sleep apnea. I had tumors growing on my liver. I couldn't look after my children properly. I was tired all the time. I was incredibly sick and unhealthy because I was eating my way into the grave. But I was very proud that I didn't drink, and I was very proud that I didn't smoke. Until my doctor looked me in the eye and said, brownies will kill you too. And that was such a moment because I had let myself down, and in doing so, I had let my family down. I had, at that stage, a 2- and 4-year-old girl, 2- and 4-year-old daughters, and they needed a mom. And a mom, you know, when we're on a plane, the plane gives us the message, put your own oxygen mask on first. And I wasn't doing that. I was prioritizing everybody around me, making sure everybody around me was happy, and I was slowly becoming more and more and more unhealthy and unhappy. So when my doctor suggested gastric bypass surgery as an option to save my life, I took it with both hands. I was absolutely terrified because we've all watched the shows on TV, we see how badly these things go. I had 2 little girls that I had to fight for, and through a lot of soul searching, I realized I was going to do more harm by staying where I was, self-sabotaging and not prioritizing myself, than I would in doing the surgery and facing the risk of something going wrong. So on the 22nd of February 2022, I booked myself into the hospital and had the surgery. Initially, everything went well. I was super happy, the weight started coming off, but within 2 weeks, I started to become sick. I started to become very nauseous. Every day was a struggle just to support her. I was in and out of hospital for 69 days in early 2022, away from my children, deteriorating to a point where I was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk. I lay in that hospital bed alone, crying, refusing to speak up because I was too embarrassed. I did this to myself. This was my choice. I deserve this. Luckily, I had an amazing psychologist who was supporting me through that time, and she was instrumental in helping me find my voice. What ended up happening is that I developed a vitamin deficiency, which my surgeon refused to believe me about. He told me that my symptoms were psychiatric. He told me that I had anxiety, as I lay in a bed unable to move, unable to walk, unable to use the toilet, unable to wash myself in the shower. I cried and cried and cried until eventually I hit rock bottom. As we know, in a hospital, one of the worst things that can happen is for a nurse to drop you. And luckily for me, that's exactly what happened. I was trying to get to the toilet, and the nurse couldn't pick me up and dropped me into a puddle of someone else's old shower water. As I lay there with my pants around my ankles, tears rolling down my face, I found the courage I needed to say, here and no further. This is as low as it's going to be for me. I refuse to be this person. I lay there, curled in the fetal position, in this old soapy water, and asked for the matron. The matron came in and saw me, and she took one look at me and said, "Where's your doctor?" And I said, "Well, actually, since February," it's now May, "since February I've been asking for this one blood test to be done because I suspect I have a thiamine deficiency," but he refuses. She said, "But who else have you asked?" I said, "I've asked every doctor who's seen me. I've asked my psychiatrist. I've asked the physiotherapists. I've asked everybody to help me, and nobody listened." And that matron showed up for me in a way that I couldn't have imagined. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I've got you. This is where it ends. I'm here for you and I'm going to help you." Half an hour later, the top neurologist in the hospital was at my bedside with a pad and paper, ready to listen. I explained my symptoms. I was in immense pain as my nerves were slowly degenerating and melting away. I couldn't walk. I'd lost my voice. I physically couldn't even talk, and I needed help. She looked at me and said, "Well, let's do the thiamine test. It costs 65 Rand. I can't believe it hasn't been done yet." I was like, "I'm sorry?" She's like, "It's 65 bucks and it's on your medical aid. Why wouldn't I do the test?" And I said, "Well, that's kind of what I was thinking all along." And she said, "Don't worry, I've got you." So at this stage, I had a matron who had my back. I had a doctor who had my back. And through it all, I had the most beautiful nurses who had my back. Long story short, I was initially misdiagnosed. The thiamine test took 2 weeks to come back. And while I lay there in the hospital waiting for the results, I was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, which presents exactly the same. Slowly becoming paralyzed, losing your voice, blood pressure problems, cognitive problems. I was a shell of who I was. So I got the treatment for GBS and I got the thiamine because, as my neurologist said, if I give you thiamine and you don't need it, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to go to the toilet and you're going to use it out. If you do need the thiamine and you don't get it, you're going to die. I said, "I'm sorry, what?" She said, "My friend, you've got 48 hours, and in the next 48 hours, either these treatments are going to save your life or you're going to end up in ICU on a ventilator." She said, "I don't say this to many patients, but I'm going to say this to you. Get your phone out and write a letter to your children saying goodbye, because that might be all that they're left with." And in the moment, I didn't know whether to be grateful she'd given me the opportunity to say goodbye to my girls, or devastated that I had to say goodbye to my girls. But I wrote that letter, and I said goodbye to them. And at the bottom of the note, I said to them, "I will never stop fighting for you. And if all I have is 48 hours, they're going to be the most epic 48 hours of fighting this hospital's ever seen." Luckily for me, I got the thiamine, I got the other treatments, and I didn't end up in ICU because the treatment worked. And slowly but surely, over the next 11 months, I had to learn to walk again, I had to learn to talk again, I had to learn to use a toilet on my own again, I had to learn to shower standing up instead of sitting down. It took about 6 months before I could get in and out of a bath again, and that was a major milestone. And through it all, I had people telling me, "I'm here for you, I've got you, you're not alone in this." I, by nature, am a very independent person who fights for others and justifies the cause and will go into battle for anyone except myself. And this experience taught me that if I'm not fighting for me, I can't effectively fight for anyone else either. And I think that's something that we as women are so bad at. And as was mentioned earlier, we're raised to care for others. As little girls, we're given baby dolls to play with. Are the boys given baby dolls to look after? No, they're given trucks and motorbikes to go and play outside in the dirt with. But we're taught to put others first from 3 years old. And so it takes an immense amount of thinking and thought and being careful with our thinking to unlearn that. We are important too. We matter too. And sometimes we can't show up for ourselves. Sometimes it's just too much and too overwhelming, and actually I just can't do it. And that's when we need to have our sisters around us, the community who will stand up and be there for you and say to you, "I've got your back. It's okay, rest. I'm here for you. Can't face today? I can face today. I have enough brave for both of us. I have enough courage for both of us. I have enough strength for both of us. You're not alone." And so that experience and that period of being away from my children, it also happened to be the period that my marriage ended, a relationship of 19 years. My husband didn't show up for me. And after 15 years of marriage, I was able to turn around and say, "Bye, Felicia," because this is not what I signed up for. I want a man who can show up for me and have my back. And I didn't have that. And that experience showed me what I deserved and showed me that I was worthy of more. And I would have rather been alone with my girls and our hamster than with a man who didn't appreciate me and show up for me the way I deserved. I lost friends during that period who didn't once send a WhatsApp to check in on me, didn't offer to take a roast chicken from Woolies to my house so my children had a decent supper, didn't once offer a school lift or a play date while I was lying in the hospital for 69 days. And so it's awful that I had to go through that in order to make those realizations. But I hope that by sharing my story, I'm encouraging others to not wait to hit rock bottom and lie in a puddle of shower water before they realize they are deserving. We are deserving. And until we start believing it, it's not going to come. I'm a big believer in manifesting what we want for ourselves. And if you're waking up every morning and talking about how awful you look in those jeans, or how frizzy your hair is, or how terrible your crow's feet are, that's going to be what is in your mind and in your heart and in your spirit for the day. Sometimes we don't wake up feeling beautiful. It's okay. You don't have to feel beautiful, you just have to not hate. Sometimes we don't love ourselves, we make mistakes, we yell at our kids, we fight with our partners, we make a mistake at work, we're not feeling 100% our best. Just don't hate. There's no room for hate. You don't have to always love yourself, you just have to be kind. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to your bestie. Can you imagine your bestie ever showing up and saying, hey, do you like my outfit? And you replying, well, girl, the jeans are not doing anything for your bum, and I think you should be wearing heels because they'll make your legs look longer, and you're showing a bit too much cleavage, pack that away, and maybe you should go wash your hair again. We would never. So why do we speak to ourselves like that? Are we not deserving of the same love, care, and compassion that we give to the people we love? We are. But again, we're conditioned into the cycle of I'm not as important, I don't deserve. And that needs to shift. And it took for me hitting rock bottom and losing everything. I lost my marriage, I lost my big fancy house, I lost my SUV. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. I hadn't worked, I used to be a paramedic. I couldn't go back to being a paramedic with my disability because I've been left with permanent nerve damage from my experience. I can't go back and work on the road saving lives when I can barely walk a kilometre. And so I had to start from the bottom and rebuild myself. And that, let me tell you, was one of the scariest things I've ever had to do. I didn't know what I know. I don't know what I know. I was applying for jobs with absolutely no idea if I could do them, but I faked it. I went for about 25 interviews before I got a job. And at every interview, I said the same thing. I'm going to be straight with you. Before you and your job will come my children, but you'll come a close second. And I'm here to commit, and I'm here to show up for you, and I'm going to do my absolute best. But as a mom, I'm irreplaceable. I know that you can fire me and replace me in 24 hours. And the first 24 didn't like that. But number 25 burst out laughing. A 60-year-old man burst out laughing and said, girl, I like your fire. You'll fit in here. And a week later, I had a job. And I started as a PA, working from 8 to 12, earning a measly little salary that barely covered my petrol to the office and back. But it was my job. I had found it. After being with someone for years who told me I wasn't worth anything because I didn't add any value to the family, I brought home 5,500 rand, thank you very much. And I could go to Woolworths or Checkers and swipe my own card and buy my own groceries. And on a Friday afternoon, I could take my kids to McDonald's for a 4.80 soft serve and pay with my own money. I had done that because I believed in myself and I showed up for myself. A few years previously, I wouldn't have even tried. And from there, I've progressed. It's only been 2 years. I've had 3 promotions. I'm a customer service manager now in a big firm. I deal with customers, I deal with the clients. I have achieved so much more than I ever believed I would have. And I can tell you now for free that had I not spent those 3.5 months in hospital, I would still be married. I would still be living off someone else's money. I would still be feeling like a waste of space and a bit of a loser. And so a lot of people will say, oh, but you've achieved all this because you've lost the weight. I've lost 67 kgs. You know, like, oh, but you lost the weight. And so, oh, thank you. You've lost the weight and that's why you're feeling so great. And sure, it's nice. It's nice walking into the shops and buying a pair of jeans that I know are going to fit me. That feels great, I'm not going to lie. It's nice to walk into a public place and have people turn and look at you and think, oh, they're looking at me because I'm hot, not because I'm weird or fat or ugly or unpleasant to see. They're admiring me. And now I fully believe it, and it's not because of the weight loss. It's because in losing every single kilogram of weight, I lost every single expectation that had been placed on me my whole life. I lost every single assumption that had been placed on me throughout my life. I lost every single limitation that I had placed on myself throughout my life. I was not who I was. I was someone new, and someone better, and someone vibrant, and someone alive, and someone who wasn't scared to fight. Someone who isn't afraid to stand up and be heard. I found my voice, and my voice is worth something. My voice is worth something, and what I have to say is worth hearing. And that is the same for every single one of us. But we don't always believe it. Because we let our partners, our parents, our childhood bestie or bully condition us into thinking we're not worthy and not deserving and not good enough. And so I wanted to talk about turning breakdowns into breakthroughs. We all have breakdowns. We all have situations in life that knock us down. Whether it's the loss of a parent, whether it's a chronic illness, whether it's a terminal diagnosis, whether it's being retrenched or losing a job, whether it's the end of a relationship, be it with a partner or with a best friend. Whatever it is, we all have challenges. There's one thing about humans that brings us together. It's laughter and sadness. Everybody laughs, everybody cries. Doesn't matter what language you speak, doesn't matter what background you come from, it doesn't matter what country you live in, we all laugh and we all cry. And so turning to each other and using our experiences of joy and sadness is how we can unite and turn those breakdowns into breakthroughs. You don't have to stay in the shower water. You can, because sometimes there's safety in there. If that's what we're used to, it feels comfortable. Breaking out of that is terrifying. But let me tell you, it is also the most phenomenally rewarding journey you will ever embark upon for yourself. You choosing you is the most empowering and beautiful thing you can ever do for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. It's up to you. And you have that power within you right now, today, as you sit here. You don't need to wait for anything. There's no oxygen mask coming to save you. There's no hot Jamie from Outlander coming on a white horse to save you. It would be nice, sure, but you're on your own. And so we need to look inwards, introspect, do the work, seek out help, trust the people around you to be there for you. Open your heart. Open your heart and let people in. Let people who love you help you because they want to. Have you ever asked someone who you care about for help and been told, nah? Has anyone ever come to you and asked for help and support and you said, I don't really feel like it? Sorry. No, that is not how we are. We want to help people. And as women especially, it's innate. It's in our DNA. And foundations like this prove that. Who's here today doing the work and showing up? It's women. That is where our power lies, in the sisterhood. And so truly, I want to just leave you with this message of you can go through so much and you can be at the worst, darkest, deepest hole of your life. You can feel like there's no way out, but you just need to reach out to one person for help. You just need to look within yourself for 5 minutes. You just need to say one kind thing to yourself. You just need to do one kind thing for somebody else, and you'll slowly start to claw your way out of that and build a life that you're proud of, and build a life that you can stand up in front of a crowd of strangers and talk about and say, I did that, and you can too, and I want that for you, because let me tell you, it feels amazing. And so I really hope that you've got something from this talk today, and by me sharing my story, I hope that it leaves you with a little burning fire inside your heart. I hope it's made you question things, and I hope it makes you walk away and spend a little bit of time thinking about how valuable you are, how incredible you are, and how deserving you are of all the best and most beautiful things in life. Thank you.
Sorry. Gaelyn, you need to start a podcast immediately. I will subscribe to that and listen to it every day of the week. That was an incredibly inspiring talk, and the fact that you delivered that off the cuff the way you did was just unbelievable. That deserves another round of applause. We have got something for you.